What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Community Show. I am your host, the Notorious Nerdy D, and I am joined again tonight by the co-host of this show, Level Up, Lauren.
What's up, y'all?
Each and every week, we talk about the best and worst of pro wrestling. Whether you are listening on podcast networks or watching on YouTube, make sure to like and leave a comment on the episode. We have another 7 questions tonight, but before we get to that, this is going to be more of a chill show. There's not a lot of stuff going on in the wrestling world that's got me fired up. Like Triple H is still doing his thing. We'll talk a little more about that. I've got a couple just kind of random questions, pulled a couple questions from our email to talk about, but not like, I don't think there's anything to set the world on fire tonight. This is going to kind of be relaxed. You jump in when you feel like you got something to say.
Okay. We
could talk about whatever, but the questions today are very kind of open-ended. Some of them kind of run together. And so, but that's fun. Like every episode we can't shoot to set the world on fire every time we turn on a microphone. I do want to start off by apologizing. I was already completely fucking wrong about the women's tag team tournament. Like already wrong. Already got round 1 wrong. I was so confident that Shotzi was and Xia Li were going to beat Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. I thought the reason Aaliyah was in that match was to lose.
I think I was right there cheering you on. So,
and then Aaliyah jumps on top of Raquel and is hugging her, and that makes absolutely no sense on why that team. I mean, like at this point, I assume that team is going to the finals to take on Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Maybe. Like, are we just going to bury the NXT team? I thought this was a great opportunity for the NXT girls to get some exposure, but at this point, I don't think the NXT girls come in and bury Raquel, do they? That doesn't make sense.
No, because I feel like they're trying to like build Raquel up,
yeah. So. I thought the way, if you had Raquel exit this tournament early, the way to do it was to have Shotzi and Xia Li pick on Aaliyah. At this point, I don't know. It's all fucking up in the air on what they're going to do there. I did read a quote this week. Thought it was funny. Tony Khan came out once again. We talked about this last week, and the reason this is kind of in the opening is we talked about him putting his fucking foot in his mouth all the time.
Yes, we did.
And saying things that he doesn't really need to say. Well, Tony Khan came out and said that people tell him that he reminds them of Paul Heyman.
Ooh.
So,
who are these people?
First off, don't know who these people are. Secondly, like, even if that's happened a couple times, you don't have to tell the world about this. Like, these are the things that you say out loud that the rest of the world is laughing at you, Tony. Yeah. Like, we're laughing at when you say shit like this because all this is meant to do is you're trying to give credibility to yourself. You're trying to go, look at me. The world thinks I'm Paul Heyman. No, we don't. We don't think you're Paul Heyman. We don't think you're anything like Paul Heyman. We think you're Tony Khan. And you're doing a half-ass good job at being the number 2 wrestling company in the world. Just maybe shut the fuck up and do what you're doing and stop giving people like me something to talk about every week.
Yeah. Stop
giving me a reason to come out here and go, oh, he did another thing. He said another thing. Stop saying it. If someone's saying this to you, they're misinformed. Like, you're not Paul Heyman. Yeah. This isn't ECW. You're not changing the wrestling world. You're not that innovative. You're just running a secondary wrestling company, and you're doing a half-ass good job at it. Yeah. That's it. I showed you this earlier, and I think we're obligated to talk about it, even though I don't have a lot of opinion on it. But the GCW match with Moxley and Effie, and I had no clue who Effie was. I've seen him on TikTok before. He has a podcast, but I didn't know he was a wrestler. So I saw the match. There was a kiss back and forth. Instead of punching, they were kissing. It's not for me. It's not for me. I don't fucking get it. Like maybe the GCW, and this is like, it's not even me shitting on it because I get there are parts of wrestling that I don't get, and they're not for me. That wasn't for me. I don't fucking get it. Right. I don't get the AEW world champion, the guy who represents AEW is supposed to take him serious, and now he's in a kissing battle, a back and forth. Instead of punching, they're kissing.
Yeah,
that seems more like a moment reserved for like your comedic wrestlers and not for the AEW World Champion. I'm supposed to go from watching that to then tonight watching CM Punk and Moxley in a ring together, which I believe, I don't know, he might have kissed CM Punk. I think that, like, I think it really might have happened. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, the CM Punk and Moxley stuff is good. I'm all for that, but I don't. Then on the other hand, I don't love seeing your world champion AEW in a kissing battle.
Yeah,
I
don't know,
in GCW.
Yes, sir.
And the last thing was the last kind of thing I want to open with here, and this kind of goes into, because I'm sure I'm going to get this again, and this is the word fickle. I fucking hate the word fickle. And cool. Bryan Danielson is the one to blame for this. He came out at one point in an interview and he was like, these WWE wrestling fans are so fickle. I hate that. And I don't even hate that he said it. I do hate that he said it. I hate that the wrestling community adopted this word like it's a word specific to wrestling, the word fickle. And now they're like, people use it on me when I say something where, like, maybe I say something against WWE. Oh, you're fickle. You can't have just a honest, truthful opinion. Half of these motherfuckers, I'll be honest, they didn't know what the word fickle meant before Bryan Danielson said it, and they went and researched what it meant. So
he said it, so no I can say it.
Like, I'm so over that fucking word and the misuse of the word of, like, if I say something that they disagree with, I have to be fickle. Yeah. I'm not fickle. I just have opinions, and sometimes they're correct and sometimes they're wrong, but I'm not fickle. I know what I like. I react to what I see. And one week I may like something and the next week I genuinely dislike it. And it's not, I don't follow a trend. The people who are fickle are the people who are following the trends. It's the AEW fans who are more fickle. They kind of fall into that cult. Like, they look around and go, well, if that guy doesn't like it, I can't like it. And if that guy doesn't like it, I can't like it. And if my favorite podcaster doesn't like it, I can't like it. Like, I expect people to disagree with me. I want people, the best fans of this show are people who can disagree with me and continue to listen. And then they can explain it to me in a comment section or in an email or something, or in a private, like a message on Facebook. They can go, here's where I think you're wrong. And we can have an open conversation about it. And it doesn't have to be like, if everything I say that they don't like, I hate the people who, when you say something they don't like, they're like, unsubscribe.
Yeah.
All right, fuck you. Because I wasn't we weren't going to bat 100%. Believe I'm going to say some shit at some point in time that you find crazy. And I like to believe that you could roll with me through that and understand that we're not 100% of the shit we talk about, you're not going to agree with.
Yes, sir. All right, so this week's Monday Night Raw ended with a match between Dolph Ziggler and Theory. It seemed like it was the first time Triple H ended the show without a big hook. Was Raw's main event Triple H's first big miss?
Yeah, I think so. I do think it was. I think that, and it's kind of a shame, because overall, Monday Night Raw was a good show. The issue that I had with Monday Night Raw this week, I don't think I had as much issue that it ended with a bad match as much as it felt out of order. It didn't feel like that should have been the last match. The last match was actually a really good wrestling match. The problem is that it felt like more of an encore than it felt like the main event. It felt like everything that happened after Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles was encore to Monday Night Raw. That was your main event. That was the match that should have closed out the show. That match had every element that you needed for a good main event that kind of leaves you wanting more. It had a hell of a wrestling match between the two guys. We can talk about that. But it also had the Dexter Lumis element of him once again sneaking in, and we get that. We can kind of close the show out with that. It also has the Miz and Ciampa lurking around, which are two guys that deserve to be in the main event. So it felt to me like less of like that match was a bad match, Theory and Ziggler, and more that it was misplaced. If you swap those two matches, I don't think we have this conversation. But this is a conversation that I've typically had about AEW, and that is that I feel like AEW, while it has great moments, the pacing of an AEW show always feels completely wrong to me. It doesn't feel like they put matches where they're supposed to belong. Sometimes the world champion's on third, sometimes he's on fifth, sometimes we end the show with the TNT title. Like, it never feels like there is a main event in AEW. Or I can't say never. I haven't watched in a while. But when I was watching, the critique I had was that it always felt like the show was just a bunch of segments mashed together to make a show. And I think, what I think is I think that with Theory being gone for a couple weeks, that this was Triple H's way of trying to make him feel important. Again, was right. Let's put him in the main event and people will understand he is a main event talent. But without a champion on the show, which is right now Roman Reigns. He's the only guy holding the belt that Theory actually would want. Without him on the show, nowhere to be seen on Monday Night Raw. And it seemingly seems like Theory's not even being a factor in the Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns situation at all. Without that, Theory feels out of place. He feels lost. It doesn't even feel, I don't know what his purpose is right now. And I think I would have preferred actually just not seeing Theory at all this week. And just continue this, like, where is Theory? After he got, an F5 on top of his briefcase, he disappeared for a little bit. And I know there were personal reasons, but for story reasons, I'd like to just not seen him until we're ready to reinsert him into that. I don't fully understand the Dolph Ziggler and Theory situation. Dolph Ziggler's pissed off because Theory didn't technically earn his spot in the Money in the Bank match. That's his whole issue. So that's why he came out, because it started in San Antonio, right?
Yes.
When we were there, all of a sudden Ziggler came out mid-match, no explanation. This was still Vince McMahon doing, and he was a part of that match. And then since then, he's been lurking around. Triple H has to be careful. There is, like, we've talked about this, and I've seen the IWC excited about this, but he has to be careful. I talked about it last week when I said I thought Triple H was the Anakin Skywalker of the WWE. He was going to bring balance back to professional wrestling.
Yeah.
He went a little bit to the dark side this week. He dug into his bag and said, we're going to end with X's and O's, not with a good story. We're going to give you a hell of a wrestling match. This is a great wrestling match. We're going to give you two guys who could wrestle their ass off. They're going to give you 20 minutes of just solid wrestling, but there's not a lot of build up to this.
Yeah.
We're not going to really explain to you why. And we're going to go off air with just the winner standing there. No big surprise. No reason to come back next week. We're just going to go off air with that. And so when I look at, like, the balance of things, that doesn't feel balanced. That feels like he appeased all the people who sit around and go, WWE doesn't just do the pure fucking wrestling. And I don't think they need to. Like, that's the AEW MO. We don't need to go pure. I'm okay with a little bit longer wrestling. I am okay with that. But I'm not okay with matches ending the show that don't feel like they're progressing the story or make me interested to come back the next week.
Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like it had a meaning to it at all. I mean, unfortunately, I fell asleep during it.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 or 3 people who were in the room at the time when we were watching the match fell asleep because we gave that big release during Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. And then I think after that, Dakota Kai might have had a match. Mm-hmm. And then it was but
we all kind of left like...
It was a downhill ramp from there. Overall, it doesn't worry me, right? Like, he's not going to bat 100. He's going to miss, and he's going to take some swings. And he's going to take some chances that we have to. You have to have a little bit of, like, lenience on and go, all right, hopefully he learns from that and goes, that doesn't work. I can't just go great wrestling match to end the show and everybody will be happy. He's going to have to figure out how to maintain. We talk about that Anakin Skywalker balance. Mm-hmm. He's got to maintain the good and he's got to maintain the bad. He has to be the balance and the force between. We like a little bit more wrestling, but we don't want that to be how you end the show and how you crutch us, how you leave us there. It's almost, and he has to find the balance of. It's almost like the same thing with. He's bringing in a bunch of NXT guys. He's bringing in Hit Row, and he's bringing in seemingly his old black and gold crew. And I know we're excited for every person that he brings, right? Just like AEW. But just like AEW, every time he brings a new person, a Hit Row, a Dakota Kai, an Io Sky, every time he brings those people, we just subconsciously don't know that's pushing someone else out of the picture.
Yeah.
So what we have to be ready for is WWE fans, if we're going to ride with this Triple H thing, and I'm okay, honestly, with the bringing back new stars and bringing in fresh talent. But we can't get into this thing where then we fucking complain a couple months from now about, whatever they want to call it, but budget cuts, right?
Yeah.
There's not room to bring in WWE's roster as it was already bloated, big, fat, large, whatever you want to call it. And if you just start bringing in guys from NXT, free agents, Hit Rows, all these people, you just start bringing in guys off the street, there's not room for all these people. There are going to be cuts, whether they're quiet, they're made behind the scenes, or whether they're big announcements that WWE does, future endeavor, budget cuts. Like there are going to be wrestlers who suffer from this, and Triple H has to find the balance. He can't turn this into NXT. And I don't think he has any plans to, but Hit Row is an interesting, I don't know that there was a lot of fans clamoring for Hit Row to come back. I think that was more of a Triple H needs that for Triple H to feel right. I just want to add too that I've seen a few IWC people try to equate the returns that Triple H has made to the returns that Tony Khan has signed to AEW. And I see the little jabs that they try to throw out of it's okay for Triple H to sign talent, but when Tony Khan does it, it's a problem. And I'm really not trying to even be a WWE sympathizer, even though that's what it's going to come off as. It's going to come off as I'm defending Triple H. But you can't compare these two situations. Tony Khan was a man who came out, made a public statement and said, look, we're not going to sign a bunch of WWE guys. It's not what we're going to do. We're going to home grow talent. We're going to bring in indie guys. We're going to build this thing up from the inside. We got 4 pillars and that thing. Triple H never made those statements. Yeah. Triple H didn't look, first off, Triple H didn't even fucking know that he was going to be in charge of WWE Creative. True. This just kind of, bam, happens. All of a sudden, you're thrown in the spot. His first day of work, he didn't go, I'm not going to change anything.
Yeah.
He was open about, I'm going to make some change. We're going to bring in the era of Triple H. And that's very different than someone stating they're going to do something and doing the opposite. And then somebody going, there's been a regimen change and I'm going to bring back the people that make me comfortable. That's normal. That happens. We talked about it last week. When businesses do this, a new CEO brings in the CFO that he's comfortable with. Yes. He brings in the COO that he's comfortable with. He brings the people around him. So I've never been critical of Tony Khan signing people. The acquisitions he has made are smart for business. Claudio, great hire. Perfect for AEW. Bryan Danielson, amazing. CM Punk, amazing hires. Great. Creating a super viable company but you can't fucking say we're not going to sign those people, because when the opportunity arises to sign an ex-WWE guy,
you're going to do it.
You should do it. You should do it. Mm-hmm. So I've only been critical of that, but it's not fair to flip it around and be critical of this idea of Triple H is signing, even I saw jokes, Triple H is signing more ex-WWE talent than that was Vince McMahon's thing.
Yeah.
These are two different, it's not like Triple H is signing a bunch of guys that he let go or that he said he would never sign. Triple H is just trying to build a company around the vision he has. He never claimed when he got into power, he wasn't going to do this. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Rumors are swirling on the internet that WWE is planning on doing another annual draft. Do you think that we really need another one, and what would make it feel more real?
So I like the idea of Triple H getting to sit down and balance out the rosters the way that he wants to balance out the rosters. Because I do truly believe that Triple H is working from a plan and that his plan is benefiting it's at least benefiting the wrestlers that are involved in that plan. Anybody who's not in that plan, they're probably fucked. But I like to believe that he has a long-term plan. So being able to balance it out and put guys and girls in the position where he thinks they'll do best, I think that's a good thing. And I most certainly think that in a draft, we're going to get a bunch of surprises. Triple H is going to do everything he can to make it a big deal, to boost the ratings, to get the headlines. So I think that with the draft, he's probably got a few of these surprises in his back pocket that are ready to go. But do I think we need a draft? Do I think we need a draft? No, I don't think we need a draft. I think more important than a draft right now, we need some fucking clarity on the belts. They need to explain to us right now. We need clarity on what the brand split even means at this point. Because as far as I'm concerned, we've got guys showing up on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. No rhyme or reason. We've got people winning belts on different shows. Liv Morgan, right? And then they just seemingly, poof, they're on the other roster because that's what that belt belongs to. But yet, when Becky and Charlotte win the belts, they have to trade the belts. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I get Money in the Bank the way it works, but that doesn't... The clarity's not there, right? Certain people just go MIA. They just go missing. We don't know where they are, and they show up on another show one week. So I don't understand what it means. What does it mean that the tag team champions are on the SmackDown roster? So any team that's drafted to Raw that's a tag team technically can go to SmackDown to challenge for that belt, or is there's just no tag team opportunity on Monday Night Raw right now? Like, I need to, what does it mean? Let's get clarity. We need clarity from Triple H. If we're going to brand these belts together, we have to sit down and brand these belts together. Are we rocking one set of belts, Triple H? Is that what we're doing? If so, cool. Let's do it. Like, let's get behind the idea and let's really unify these motherfuckers. Take the 47 belts that the Usos are carrying and give them 2 new pretty shiny belts that they can call the unified tag team titles.
Yeah.
If we're really going to give Roman Reigns the universal undisputed WWE championship with 47 names on it, let's clank those motherfuckers together and make one belt. More than likely, I don't think so. I think we're splitting the belts. I think it's time to split the belts. At least the heavyweight main big belt needs to be split. Let's do it at Clash at the Castle. I mean, because and you could come up, Triple H, you come up with whatever convoluted bullshit you have to do to fix Vince McMahon's fuck up on unifying these belts. Whatever it is, feed us whatever bullshit. Does Theory only get to cash in on one belt? Can fucking Karrion Kross challenge for one belt? Whatever it is, let's get those belts split up so Monday Night Raw can have one and SmackDown can have one, and we can create an actual brand split that makes sense to people so that a draft actually makes sense to people. I don't understand why we're keeping the biggest belt we have, the most important belt we have, on a guy who shows up as much as a fucking, like, he shows up like a dad with joint custody. He's there like every third Friday.
Yeah.
He's not there all the time. Like, why is he the champ? Why can't Roman show up? Like, if we're really coming to the end of Roman Reigns' run, which we all believe we are, I don't know if we are, but we all hope, I think, at this point, why can't he just show up these last couple months? What do you do? Like, where you need to be that you can't get? Like, I think the frustration from Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens, that's real. These guys are like, where the fuck are you? Like, you are being given the biggest prestige in all of professional wrestling, and you can't show up 4 fucking Fridays a month to do a job, and you're being paid for this? Like, I don't get it. I do think that Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre's promo on Monday Night Raw proved without a shadow of a doubt, we're done with part-timers. They convinced me. We're done with Brock Lesnar. If he can't be there every week, stop fucking showing up.
So I actually have a question about that.
Okay.
Do you think that Roman is actually supposed to be there and not showing up? No. Or if they just decided like, no, it's okay, you can come when you want.
This is some fucking convoluted deal they've made with Roman Reigns where they told him, hey, man, I think Vince McMahon was panicked. I think Vince McMahon had fucking roboted every superstar. Kevin Owens, robot. Not a main event guy. Drew McIntyre, robot. He could be a main event guy, but we're not going to put the belt on him, right? He put everybody into these little fucking categories, and he goes, here's your script, go read it. and they all came off as robots. All of a sudden, you take the chains off of Kevin Owens. You take the chains off of Drew McIntyre, and they show up and they fucking blow the roof off the building with a promo, right? Where they're saying the word. You notice they're saying all the words that Vince McMahon hated.
Yeah.
So someone has told them, hey man, you go say whatever the fuck you want. And I think they proved we don't need part-timers. We don't need him anymore. That crutch is gone. We don't need Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I love Roman Reigns. I like the head of the table. But if you're going to show up every third Friday, I don't fucking want you. Like, quit dipping your toe in the pool.
Yes, sir.
When you let the dogs off the leash, and that's what Triple H is doing. That's more important than all the returns and more important than all of the like big surprises and big hook endings. More important, he's fucking let the dogs off the leash.
Yeah.
What happens when Karrion Kross is off the leash? What happens when Drew McIntyre? We saw what happens when Drew McIntyre's off. He's not the same person. Yeah. He's not. I fell into the bullshit of thinking Drew McIntyre is kind of like a goofy guy, right?
You did.
He got a little physical, got a little rough. They got in each other's faces, right? What happens when Kevin Owens is let off the leash? Oh, he's the prize fighter again. You've never seen this fucking Kevin Owens.
I haven't,
This
actually.
isn't goofy fucking you're a liar Kevin Owens. This is the fucking Kevin Owens that when I tell you he's my favorite wrestler.
Yes.
This is why he's my favorite wrestler. Yeah. This is that Kevin Owens. This is Kevin Owens that beat John Cena. This is it.
I don't know that Kevin Owens.
What's going to happen when Seth Rollins figures it out? That the leash is gone.
Yeah.
He was thriving before the leash was off. All of a sudden, he gets outside of this Riddle shit and he's able to talk his shit. Don't discount The Miz. When The Miz is finally in a position to just let loose on a microphone, if we're really going TV 14 and Triple H is taking the leash off, he's letting these guys write their promos.
Is this happening, do you think, because Triple H is and has been a wrestler instead of just a writer?
Yes, 100%. I think Triple H sat behind the scenes and knew you are crippling these guys. When you give them a script, especially, there are certain people, Liv Morgan, needs a script probably.
Yeah.
Needs to be told what to say at this point in her career. She will get there, but at this point in her career, probably thrives with a script. Guys like Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, you don't need to tell them what to say. You just need to go, this is where we're headed. This is where the story's going. Get us there. I'm putting all my faith in you, guy. Get us there. And they go out there and you get raw emotion. You get guys yelling at each other. And AEW is good at this.
Yeah.
I do believe so. Because I just saw CM Punk and Moxley in the ring. And every time I watch two AEW guys in a promo, I go, oh, they don't fucking like each other.
Yeah. Right?
You always leave there with that feeling. You don't know. You go, they don't like each other. It felt like Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre were airing grievances. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because they were allowed to be emotional. We have to let Roman go. It's time. If he wants to go to Hollywood, he's dipping his fucking toe in the water. He's like, I'm a wrestler, but I want to be in Hollywood. I'm a wrestler. He's dipping his fucking... He's either got to jump back in the swimming pool because everybody else is in the swimming pool. They're ready to play. So he's either got to jump back in or he's got to grab a fucking towel and go sit in the bleachers. And he's got to watch this new era of... If I was Roman Reigns and I saw where this was going, I saw how Triple H was steering this ship, I'd go, I'm back. I'll be at every fucking SmackDown, especially up until WrestleMania. I will go all in and I will fucking do this. I'm back in the pool. I love Roman Reigns, but you're holding up progress, bro. You're all at this point, you're holding up progress. You don't feel like the big deal right now. When Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre are calling you on your bullshit and you're not showing up, it started, but we have to clear this bullshit up. We have to clear, what does a brand split really mean? Then we can do the draft. We can have that song and dance once we know what a brand split is and where the titles belong. But in order to do that, there has to be stakes. It makes no sense to have a draft if there are not clear authority figures in charge of each brand.
Yeah.
If you don't have it doesn't have to be a general manager, but you have to have some kind of authority figure. Call them a talent scout, right? You have to have somebody that it seems stakes are on the line. If I pick this person first, I know the other companies or the other side's going to pick this person. If it's one generalized, like Raw drafts this person, SmackDown drafts this person, but it's all coming from Triple H, it doesn't, like, that's insulting our intelligence, right? Survivor Series needs to go back to being brand versus brand, Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah.
It needs to be it needs to feel like when Survivor Series comes up, I either wear the Raw red or I wear the SmackDown blue, and I support the fucking brand that I'm more fond of. Right now, it doesn't. It just feels like the only reason there is Raw and SmackDown is because there's USA Network and Fox Network, and that's it. That's why those shows exist. It's not because we have two defined brands right now. Like Night of Champions. I don't know if you remember Night of Champions.
No.
It's a pay-per-view that used to be champion versus champion. How the fuck do you do Night of Champions anymore? I don't even think it's a thing anymore, but it was a great show because it was the WWE champion versus the Universal champion, the Intercontinental champion versus the United States champion, the two women's champions, the two tag teams. It felt big because it was like it was a pride show.
There's got to be a rivalry.
It was, but if it doesn't, if the Usos are the only tag team champions, how do you do that? It doesn't. It needs to feel like the two brands are competing.
Yeah,
it has to feel like that. If there's this weird gelatin feel where guys are able to like just show up on Raw, Drew McIntyre can just show up when he feels like it because Raw needs a ratings boost.
Yeah.
There's no brand feel. It doesn't feel like you need like college.
I don't even know who's on what brand anymore, to be honest with you.
Outside of like the top 10 guys, the top 10 guys don't feel like they have brands really. They can show up anywhere at any time. But
fluid.
The winner of Survivor Series, let's say Raw versus SmackDown, they should get the 30th entry into the Royal Rumble. Like there should be a prize. It should feel like that match has meaning and that those teams are competing for something that matters. It has to make sense. Because if not, the draft is bullshit. It's a publicity stunt. And I don't feel like Triple H is in the business of publicity stunts. I'm sold on this idea. Like give each brand, it doesn't have to be a GM. I think the days that happen to have like a evil GM are over. But each brand could have like quote unquote a talent consultant.
Yeah.
Someone who is someone who's like a brand manager, somebody whose goal is to make sure that SmackDown is the best. And they're on TV and they are publicly like trying to say we're better than SmackDown or we're better than Raw. And even then, like the draft and during the regular season of wrestling, there should be trades and you should see these talent consultants talking. And if you want somebody to go from Raw to SmackDown, it should seem like there was a transactional thing that happened.
Make it a cutscene and
make it a news story, make it an article. Say, hey, today Raw traded Kevin Owens for Drew McIntyre and the Usos.
Yeah, make it a big deal.
This is a big deal. This is a transactional thing. This just made, then we can come on here and debate who got the better end of that deal. I like that. Like, give it more of a sports feel. And the matches that take place on the night of the draft should mean something. Because there's always this weird thing that the draft is almost secondary. It's going on during an episode of Monday Night Raw, which doesn't ever make sense to me. The draft should be the main focus. So if you've got a match, right? Let's say opening match, show starts, Monday Night Raw. First match should be who gets the first pick. Raw sends out their best superstar. SmackDown sends out their best superstar. Whoever wins gets the first pick.
Well, I mean, should there be matches during the draft or should it be more like the NBA draft?
You have to, because I don't know that a fake draft can garner 3 hours of watching television.
Yeah.
I just don't think it can because it tends to span.
Does it always have to be on Monday Night Raw? Why couldn't it be done on SmackDown?
It's usually done on both shows. It's a rating boost because at the end of the day, the draft is a trick to boost the ratings. That's all it is. It's a gimmick show. But let's make it feel real. Let's not insult the intelligence. Like there should be the second match of the night. Second match of the night should get a auxiliary draft pick from NXT, right? They can call up whoever they want from NXT to their brand.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Of course, this is all predetermined, but make us feel like it matters.
Yeah.
Make us feel like the match is happening. Because other than that, half of the time these matches are against their people who aren't going to be on the same brand afterwards anyway. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't make sense. Make it feel the draft can't be this insulting way to rearrange the rosters. It can't be insulting. It can't be, hey, dummies, watch as we just internally change rosters and you guys pretend to be excited about who got picked where. Like, make it feel like it's a real thing. Make it feel like a fucking spectacle.
Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so this one is from our email. They didn't leave a name, but they said, Notorious, as a new casual wrestling fan with limited amount of free time to watch wrestling, what wrestling programs should I be watching?
So that questions like this are hard to answer because there's no definition. Like, they didn't define what limited time is. Do you have 1 hour to watch wrestling? I'm going to assume based on the question that they're asking like, which company should I be watching? I think it's fair to assume that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So if you're new or returning to wrestling, like I was about a year ago and you were as well, we started SummerSlam last year. We got back into wrestling.
Yes.
As a new wrestling fan, it's easy to watch an episode of AEW Dynamite. We did this. We fell into this trap and be enamored with a lot of the old faces that you see that look familiar. And maybe they weren't familiar to me, but they were familiar to me, like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Jericho, Jack Swagger, who is now Jack Hager, Cesaro, who is now Claudio. It almost can feel familiar to WWE fans, even though it's not. It's not. Like, those people aren't the same people. And you'll quickly realize that AEW is built around, and it's built for people who have a vastly deep knowledge and a vast reach into the internet world of wrestling. They've watched things in wrestling that aren't easily accessible to average fans. There's lots of like backroom indie talk and stories carry over from other places. New Japan Pro, GCW, Ring of Honor. This guy was in this promotion. He didn't like this guy when he was in this promotion. This guy is now, this guy did a match in GCW and it carried over. There's a lot of crossover, like guys like Moxley fighting multiple championships, multiple companies. If you have limited time, it's one of those red board situations where you have to fucking connect some dots and some lines to be like, well, I thought Moxley was AEW. Why is he fighting in GCW? Why all of a sudden are all these fucking New Japan Pro guys just showing up on it? Wait, Impact guys are now in AEW? It's seemingly it's a gelatin. It changes. Also, there's a lot of fucking championships in AEW. And these aren't meant to be negatives. For hardcore wrestling people, these are all great things. I'm talking about for a new fan, these are tough to follow. There's a lot of championships, like a lot of championships in AEW. There's all of the AEW tag team trio, TNT, TBS, CBS, fucking Cartoon Network. Like, I mean, I'm joking, but there's a lot of fucking belts in AEW. And now, even though they're pretending that Ring of Honor is a separate company, even though all the fucking people on the Ring of Honor roster are also on the AEW roster on the website.
Yeah.
All right, guys, come on. It's just an extension of AEW at this point. We got all those titles now. So it's like 27 titles. It feels like everybody has a title. If you don't have a title in AEW, what the fuck are you doing? If you're new to wrestling and you're trying to pick an allegiance, you're gonna stick with one company, which is fine. That's a normal thing. I hate the people who go watch both. We don't all have fucking. It takes
72 hours a week,
7, 8 hours to commit to wrestling. Like, we don't all have that. So if you're new to wrestling, I suggest one thing you do if you're considering AEW is go watch the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. It happened a couple weeks ago, a couple months, maybe a month ago. If you can identify 75% of the people from that pay-per-view, AEW is for you. It's great. A lot of Japan Pro guys, a lot of AEW, a lot of guys that you probably never heard of if you were a lapsed WWE fan. If you date pre-watching AEW, watch that show, and if you can identify that roster, great. That's for you. The reality, though, my advice to somebody jumping back into watching pro wrestling, WWE is the friendlier product. We've brought friends in to watch wrestling, and we always introduce them through WWE. And then if they want to eventually dip their toe into that AEW pool, it's a little easier. The stories in WWE tend to kind of reset faster. After every premium live event, they kind of reset a certain amount of the stories. Certain ones move on, but certain ones, and WWE, you know this, they do a hell of a job of recapping what you missed the week before.
Yes.
Almost too good of a job sometimes.
Uh-huh.
There's times like you can literally just watch the current premium live event and they literally will give you the backstory of what you need to know. It's like the best time to jump in would be jump in right at Clash at the Castle.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna fill you in on everything you've missed up until that point.
I like the recaps.
I get it. Like for you, they're great because you don't retain the knowledge. You don't go look at things afterwards. You kind of watch. You're the prime example of a casual fan. You watch Monday, you watch Friday, and then you forget about it. And then you watch Monday and you watch Friday, and then the premium live event shows up, and they go, here's what you don't remember.
Yeah.
They do a good. People, the hardcore fans get so irritated by those recaps, but they don't understand like. Wrestling is not everything to everybody.
Yeah.
It can just be a small aspect of your life. So the reality is, I think that WWE is a friendlier product. All the premium live events in WWE are part of Peacock, which to me feels like a smaller investment than having to pay, well, I don't know what AEW costs these days, but let's say $49 every 2 or 3 months for a pay-per-view. When you get Peacock, you get all the WWE premium live events. So you're getting 12 or 13 basically pay-per-views for the Peacock price. You're getting a shitload of documentaries and just WWE content. You can watch all the old pay-per-views. You can watch all the old Monday Night Raws, NXTs. So you get that content. And then on top of that, you get Peacock.
Yeah.
So you get...
Spoiled us a little bit.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, really, when you look at it from that standpoint, you also get just a streaming service that has a ton of content for you to watch. So with Triple H taking over, my advice to somebody asking what should I jump into? It's not, I am biased towards WWE. I'm more of a fan of WWE, but I would assume that someone new to wrestling is going to be more on the side of me, a casual fan, than of the IWC, who would steer you towards, here's why you should watch AEW.
Yeah.
The different question I think I would ask is, and this is a question I've kind of played with. I've worked in my head as I take this more serious, as I take wrestling more serious, and I do dig deeper, and I'm like you, I watch Monday, I watch Friday, and I watch premium live events. And that's it. I don't watch main event. Haven't watched NXT. Don't watch, I stopped watching Dynamite. Don't watch Rampage. So a bigger question I would ask is, and this is for people to answer to me, as a regular watcher, I'm a regular watcher of WWE programming. I watch Raw and SmackDown religiously. If I was to add one more additional night of wrestling, what do I add? What makes most sense?
That's a good question.
So do you add NXT 2.0? Or do you completely jump ship and you watch AEW Dynamite? What makes more sense? Do I dig deeper into an ecosystem that I'm currently already watching with NXT? Do I watch that because these are the people I'm going to see in the future? And while I'll admit, like NXT is not going to be as exhilarating as AEW is, because Dynamite's their main show, it's also less of a time investment. And I don't know that I get as lost if I miss an episode. Or do I try to fight through the things that I don't like about AEW? Do you try to fight through that? And underneath some of that hardcore IWC fan service, the New Japan Pro stuff that I don't love, the guys biting each other, the weird guys showing up that I've never heard of, underneath some of that inside of Dynamite, there is some good stuff. There's MJF, there's Christian, there's CM Punk and Moxley. There's good stuff there that I can watch, that I could thumb through, that I could invest in. It might be fun to invest in that. My problem with that, with jumping into Dynamite is, can you watch Dynamite without watching Rampage?
Oh.
Is it possible? Or if you watch Dynamite, are you committing yourself to 3 more hours of wrestling? And then once again,
I think so.
Now I've got to watch Monday. I've got to watch Wednesday. I've got to watch 2 things on Friday. I've got to watch 2 pay-per-views a month. Like, I think, to me, from my point of view, NXT 2.0 for a WWE watcher is just, it makes more sense. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's worth, and this is a follow-up to last week. Just a random follow-up last week. We talked about Liv Morgan, and we've made comments about Omos. and we've made comments about Dominic Mysterio, all of them needing to go to NXT. And I'm only talking about this because I'm talking about maybe watching NXT. I don't understand why so many people react to those comments. When I say those things, they look at them as a negative comment. Like they look at them as negative commentary. They look at them as me saying something hurtful about those people. But I think that the problem is we may view NXT differently. I view NXT not as a demotion, but as a farming system for the big show, for Raw and SmackDown. I don't think it's a demotion. I think that's where you go to hone your skills. The reason NXT exists, and it exists on a small scale, and it doesn't require all the traveling, is because that's a place to get your reps in. So when I talk about someone like Liv Morgan going back to NXT, it's not because, hey, she needs a demotion off of the main roster to teach her a lesson. It's because we got a comment. Someone commented on our Liv Morgan video and they said, Liv Morgan's been in WWE, the main roster, for 5 years. If she hasn't gotten it now, she'll never get it. I don't think that's true. How many solo promos has Liv Morgan got to cut on mainstream WWE television? I can probably count them on my hand. Mm-hmm. And those are, I'm talking about solo, not part of the Riot Squad, not part of a tag team, just Liv Morgan by herself in a ring. They still aren't letting her do it. They're still sending Kayla Braxton out there with her. So it's not a demotion when you move someone down to NXT. It's that they need the reps. Liv Morgan can go to NXT and cut 100 promos in a year. And it's not all eyes. It's NXT eyes on the product. And they're forgiving. And they'll be excited that somebody with that level of WWE talent is coming down to work on their television show.
I think they should see it as a positive, too, because they're not firing them. They're deciding, hey, we like this person. We need to put more love and care into building them up.
We want to invest. We want to invest. We go, okay, Dominic Mysterio. This is a prime example. Everybody says, why do you hate Dominic Mysterio? I don't hate Dominic Mysterio. I want the company to invest in the future. You guys are happy with them exploiting what little bit of stardom Dominic Mysterio has right now.
Hey boy.
Put him on Raw. Doesn't matter if he's not ready. Put him on Raw. Let Rhea Ripley carry him around. This is doing nothing for him. This is tarnishing him. I've said at this point, they fucked Dominic up so bad that even going to the Judgment Day is just going to hurt the Judgment Day. It's not going to benefit Dominic the way people think it is. What would benefit Dominic Mysterio is a trip down to the farm system, to NXT, an opportunity to get reps, to talk every week, to be a big deal. It's better to be, for Dominic, the big fish in a small pond than it is for him to be basically a minnow in a world of sharks. That makes way more sense. So I don't love that people jump on me and go, oh, you're negative. You hate. I don't hate Dominic Mysterio. The point I'm trying to make, sometimes in a completely asinine way, and I try to bring humor to the situation, but the point I'm trying to make is when I say somebody needs to go back to NXT, it's not a demotion. They need reps. They need practice. It's same with AEW Dark. I think that so many people frown upon AEW Dark. Mm-hmm. And I frown upon it only in the sense when someone leaves WWE and then they're placed on AEW Dark, I go, well, you're not in a better situation than you were in before.
Yeah.
But the reality is that AEW Dark is still AEW. NXT is still WWE. You're still one of the best at what you do. You just need reps. Don't look at it as you're being buried somewhere where they can't see you. Look at it as a chance to test some things out, to do some things, to get repetition, to practice. The NXT crowd would love Liv and Dominic. They will love them. They will show them the love that they need, and they will develop confidence. And I know that's kind of a tangent from what this question was, but I felt like it pertained to it because with me saying I want to invest watch time into NXT, I think that goes to show that I don't view it as a demotion. That's Braun Breaker is the next big thing. And so he's honing his skills. He's cutting his fucking teeth in NXT so that when it's time to go to WWE, he's ready. You see this. And sometimes you might get called up before you're ready. And I don't think it's a negative for you to get sent back to fix what's broken.
Notorious. Who do you see as the biggest future stars of the WWE? And what does the main event scene look like a year from now?
Yeah, so this was another one pulled from the email files. A lot of these questions, like I said, there's not a lot going on. These are a little bit of fluff questions, but they're fun to talk about. I think, and I said this earlier, if we're talking about the future of WWE and we're talking about the Triple H era, I think the part-timer is done. I think the era of the part-timer is over. I think Brock, Roman, you either got to jump in the pool or they got to go sit in the stands. I don't think we're going to see these guys. Now, they may show up. Special one-off occasions, big main events, The Rock and Roman still makes sense. Having Brock come back every so often. But I don't think that they're going to hang around the title picture any longer. I just think that time is done. I think Triple H knows, like I said, you let the dogs off the leash and the dogs are going to perform. I don't think Cena comes back for anything relevant. I used to say Cena could come back. He's got another run in him. I don't think it's there anymore. I think that time has passed. Vince McMahon was the guy who liked to hit the break glass in case of emergency and go get Brock, go get Goldberg, go get Cena, and now Roman will be one of those guys. The future stars of WWE, like the sea is parting. It's becoming clear who these people are. You can hate him. Theory has a long future in WWE.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. He is a chosen one. And whether it was a chosen one of Vince McMahon, he was on a fast track with Vince McMahon. I think with Triple H, the talent doesn't go away. He's super talented, super athletic. These guys will only get better, guys like Theory. So I think he's a future star. Braun Breaker from NXT. The guy's got he's got the intangibles. He's a little bit small, but wrestling's trending small these days. I can say I love the Giants, but it's obvious to me that wrestling is trending smaller, like a lot of sports are. There's a lot of sports that are kind of shrinking into athleticism and less into size matters.
Yeah.
Guys like Riddle still has a ton of upside. I don't think Riddle has even gotten close to maxing out his potential and what he will be and what he will become. Montez Ford is a guy that we've talked about over and over on the show, but I don't think you can only talk about him anymore. I think that Angelo Dawkins has to be in that conversation. Mm-hmm. They both look to be big players, and they look to be big guys in the future of WWE. As far as other stars, Logan Paul, if he really decides to commit, which I'm going to say right now, I don't think he is. Yeah. I think Logan Paul is living out a fantasy. I think the fact that you had your WrestleMania moment, your SummerSlam moment, I don't know that Logan understands the WWE audience is going to let you do that a couple times, but you're not going to just show up for the two biggest shows of the year every year and we keep fucking acting excited and surprised. Like, that's over.
Yeah, after a minute we're going to be like, okay,
you either have to start the grind and show up, or like they're going to turn, and they're not going to turn in the way of like, we don't like you because of who you are. It's going to be go away heat. Like, stop fucking showing up. You're not going to show up in part-time this thing. I said part-time is over. He's going to have to commit. And it doesn't have to be a full-time schedule, but like 3 months at a time, he might have to commit to that. Madcap Moss, I still believe, like when I look at Madcap Moss, I don't know. There's nothing missing there. He can talk. He's got the right size. He's fast. He's explosive. I think it's just the right gimmick at the right time. Put a couple belts on him, and I think he'll be fine. Gunther, he's older, but his style seems to lend itself to being able to have a long career. And it feels like, I know there were like rumors that Vince McMahon was going to fucking bury him at one point.
That's crazy.
That was the next plan. But I think Triple H understands, especially after what we saw on SmackDown.
I mean, he does kind of have a history, though, of doing that to like certain wrestlers, right?
I mean, I think, look, Vince was like, 70, 80 years old. Like, he was out of touch. It was time. Like, at a certain point, you lose touch with what the audience wants, and it was time, and this was the best case scenario. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that it had to happen this way, but don't do a bunch of shady shit.
Yeah.
Then you don't get called on your shady shit. But like, Gunther, glad, because that SmackDown main event was amazing. It was that SmackDown main event should have been the template that Triple H used for, let's just do that same thing with Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles and in this show like that.
So random question.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that the timing of all this was kind of convenient?
I don't like that conspiracy there. I've heard that. I've heard the conspiracy that this was like Triple H and Stephanie McMahon dun, dun, dun. And like Nick Khan all play. I mean, what other way were you going to get rid of Vince McMahon? That's the truth. Because
it's not like nobody hasn't known that this stuff is going on.
I just don't feel like this is the way you send the old man to retirement. Like there's possible legal recourse from the things he's done.
Yeah.
But guessing like the main events of like next year events is wild because guys like Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Those guys will still be here. So you got Gunther, you got Ciampa's on the rise. Bobby Lashley is getting better and better. Every time I see him, I like him more. It looks like he's getting more comfortable. Still think he needs a mouthpiece, but I don't think that's a fucking problem. Like, there's plenty of guys who needed a mouthpiece for a long time.
He has improved a little bit, though. I
agree. And just don't force him into these conversations with guys who are real great on a microphone right now.
Yeah.
Cody's coming back eventually.
Ooh, yeah.
So, I mean, like, what is WrestleMania next year? You've got all of these names you've got to fit in. The Usos, they're not going anywhere.
It's going to 3 nights now.
Roman may disappear, but the Usos aren't going anywhere. And then you got to talk about the women's side of wrestling. Lots of people like to hate on it, but fuck those people. Becky Lynch is a big player. You guys can try and downplay that. Becky Lynch is the real deal. Charlotte, big time player. Bayley, big deal. Don't love the cargo pants. Not sure I fully understand the cargo pants with Bayley and the extreme amount of makeup and the mom haircut.
I actually saw that was a comment.
Feels like a little bit of a Karen.
Yeah.
Like her character does feel like for being such a cool like group that they've got going on. Bayley, like
she seems like the soccer mom.
Pants. Yeah, I don't understand the pants. Like, what are in all those pockets, Bayley? What do you have in the 13 pockets that you have? Because they all appear to be full as well. Weapons?
Definitely.
What, like brass knuckles or
maybe.
what?
I think during like one match, she just pulls them out and is like...
Just one match?
She looks like a soccer mom. Maybe she's got like Kleenex like and Band-Aids.
It's first aid kit stuff?
Probably.
Bianca Belair, she's not going anywhere. She's a big deal. And she'll be a big deal for a long time. She has staying power. I think Ronda Rousey will fizzle out.
Okay.
I don't think she's long-term. I think she goes on that part-time list. I think she'll end this run and then she'll probably have had her fill of wrestling. Sasha Banks is coming back. Let's not joke about it, right?
Yeah.
She's coming back to WWE.
Where else is she going to go?
Yeah. Liv Morgan's going to get there.
Only if everybody says 6 feet away.
Yeah, right. You got to stay 6 feet away. Liv Morgan will get there. Rhea Ripley's already there as far as main event goes. I think Rhea Ripley is so already there that WWE is afraid of how overpowering she looks to other women. That they fear.
I mean, they've thrown her into a group with 2 men, and she's basically wrestling a grown man right now,
beating up Dominic Mysterio.
She's made him a
bitch. Now she's basically
her poppy
challenged Ray.
Yeah,
she's in Ray's face week in and week out. So yeah, I think Rhea's almost ascended to that China level.
Do you think that would ever happen, like a Ray and Rhea, like up against each other match?
Rey Mysterio, Rhea Ripley?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. I don't put it past because it feels like at this point it works. Rhea Ripley has proven that she can hang in the ring with these guys. Mm-hmm. So why not do it? It would be huge for her.
Yeah.
Ray, what does it bother Ray? It doesn't really bother.
Maybe because he's like, I won't touch a woman.
But so I saw this the other day. There's a video of, I think he 619'd Nia Jax. So
did he really?
Yeah, I believe he has done it. So,
oh man,
so
that's
I don't
awesome.
think you can't say he can't put his hands on women because I believe I saw a picture. I don't know if it was faked, but it was Nia Jax hanging on the ropes and it was Ray swinging around for the 619.
I love it.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, they're all viable. The thing, like, we have to be realistic. And I said this earlier, if Triple H keeps the ship going in a positive direction like this, it's not only WWE people. Mm-hmm. There's going to be AEW people who jump ship. MJF, if he hasn't signed a new deal, I think now more than ever, there is, unless he has inked the deal, the odds of him going to WWE are higher than they've ever been. Look, WWE's Triple H is taking, he let the dogs off the leash. He's letting these guys talk. Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre proved it. He's letting them get a little grimy. TV 14 is apparently a thing. So if this is all real and MJF hasn't signed on that line, it feels like now more than ever is the time for WWE to capitalize on that. The next year of wrestling, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for even the next 6 months. We might fucking get to see The Fiend back. Or Bray Wyatt. You wanted Bray Wyatt, I wanted The Fiend, but I'll take either one. We might see Braun Strowman back. We might see Johnny Gargano back. I used to think that Roman Reigns versus The Rock was best case scenario at WrestleMania, and it needed the WWE title. Now I think that there's zero chance that match will have a belt involved in it because there's just so many other guys chomping at the bit to get that belt right now.
Okay, so this is a question that I actually had. We were having a conversation and it just popped in my lower brain, and I was like, oh my God, I got to ask you this. So the question is, has anyone transcended the level of fame that they had in WWE, but in another company?
All right, so the one, I tried to clarify this, and then we decided, stop talking, we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Yes.
We were in the car.
Yes.
So basically what you're asking, has anybody become more famous after leaving WWE?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about like The Rock, like Hollywood famous.
No, they went somewhere else and
wrestling famous. We're talking about in the world of wrestling. So has anybody left the WWE and got more wrestling famous?
Yeah.
All right. I thought about this. I wrote down some names here. We'll talk about them. Before we get into that, this is one of those funny things because this is one of those questions. I said we didn't have any hot button topics.
Yeah.
But this is one that the IWC will hate because if you ask this question to any IWC, like AEW fan, they're probably going to tell you that every person who's left the WWE and went to AEW is now more famous. Problem is, that's not accurate. That's not an accurate statement. People are not more famous in AEW. AEW doesn't have a big enough audience for them to be quantified in that way. You have to exclude people from this conversation, like Britt Baker, who has appeared in WWE as like an extra.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah, that's not fair. So we got to exclude that. I'm not going to do the people who like were, and even like people who were in NXT for a short time and then went to AEW. I think when we talk about this subject, we're going to talk about it from the point of like someone who was well established on either Monday Night Raw or SmackDown and then made a jump to Impact, New Japan Pro, AEW, and became a more famous wrestler.
Yeah,
right.
I'll agree with that.
So here's the big ones. These are the big ones that I was able to come up with, and I'll argue either for or against why I think that's true. Bryan Danielson. So I won't argue that Bryan Danielson is a big star in AEW. He's one of the biggest, but I can't say that the level of stardom he's hit in AEW is bigger than his pinnacle point in WWE. There was literally a point in time, WrestleMania 30, we went there, where he was the biggest thing in all of wrestling. Everybody loved him.
You could feel like the
70,000 or 100,000 people in New Orleans just fucking going nuts. 2 matches at WrestleMania, opening match and a main event match. He was so nothing that he's done. I'd argue right now he's not even the most famous person in AEW.
I'd agree with you on that.
If you're the most famous person in all of wrestling at one point in your career, and now in AEW, like he's loved, and the IWC love him, but the casual fans have seemingly forgot about him. I would say, nobody's clamoring for when he's not doing this shit no more. You definitely say, and nor though I don't think he cares. I talked about this last week. I don't think Bryan Danielson cares. I don't think that he's ever aspired to that level of fame.
He just wants to wrestle.
He wants to wrestle. Then you jump to CM Punk. CM Punk's another one. I could argue that CM Punk has more respect in AEW than he ever did in WWE. But once again, around 2011, I was heavy into wrestling when CM Punk and John Cena were going at each other. It was around SummerSlam. He was a big fucking deal. Like the crowd was with him. So I don't know that I'd argue that he's ever. The only thing I could argue, I would argue this. I would tell you this. CM Punk's return to wrestling The night he came back, we watched.
Yes.
That night could be the pinnacle of his fame. I do believe so. So if we are willing to pinpoint it to, because after that he cooled off quickly.
Yes.
He due to not being in ring shape, due to not coming back and being the CM Punk that the casual fans want. We wanted bad CM Punk. We wanted the heel, and he came back, and it was a love fest for a while. And even now, he's a new version, which is he's entitled to do, but he's not WWE CM Punk, and he's not the CM Punk people expected. So I'd give you the fact when you say, has anybody become more famous? For one night only, CM Punk, I think, was more famous, and he was the biggest deal in pro wrestling on that night. But I think he quickly cooled off. Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is an interesting one. When I look at Cody Rhodes, because he certainly left WWE. Yes. And so I think this is kind of a trick answer to your question. I'm going to play with your question a little bit. He left WWE and he became a bigger star than he was in WWE. When he left WWE, he was a mid-card guy, especially his Stardust gimmick and all that stuff. So he left and he went and he made a fucking name for himself on the indie scene. And then more importantly in AEW, he became that guy, especially at the beginning. In the beginning of AEW, he was legitimately like one of four, I'd call like rock stars. You had like Jericho, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and maybe the Young Bucks. They were like rock stars. They were the indie guys that had when AEW was getting started, it was a big deal. Everybody was excited. Those were the guys. But I would argue that while he did hit a high level, when he came back to WWE, he fucking moved the bar again.
Yeah.
So it was like here when he left, here he got bigger, but then he reset that bar up here. And so he's never been bigger than he is winning a WWE ring. The night he came back in Dallas to 70,000 people fucking screaming his name with his theme song, he transcended everything he did in AEW.
He's actually the one who inspired that question, to be honest with you.
So it's kind of like I'm playing with your question there. Yeah, he left and he definitely made a name for himself. He did not use WWE the way some people get their fame in WWE. He definitely went outside, found the fame, came back. But like what happened to that fame, what it showed is WWE can take somebody who is a big deal.
Yeah.
They fucking lights a spark and you just transcend.
Light 'em on fire.
And all of a sudden Cody Rhodes was, I talk about this. There are moments in time where guys are the biggest thing in wrestling.
Uh-huh.
From the moment Cody Rhodes came back during WrestleMania to the moment he left again with the torn pec, he was the biggest thing in pro wrestling.
Definitely.
It's just unfortunate he got hurt. But even the fucking match with Seth Rollins taking the shirt off and the boobies all black, like that was, oh shit, he was the biggest thing in wrestling.
Yeah.
So I'll play with your question there. I think that the way you were asking it, Cody Rhodes would be an example.
Okay.
Chris Jericho. This was a funny one because I sat down and I had to really think about this. I think with Chris Jericho, at this point in time, he's my GOAT. He's my greatest of all time. So he was my greatest of all time when he left. So how do you get better than that? How do you reach? Like, I honestly, I don't think he didn't leave WWE and get more famous. He was just still famous. He went to New Japan Pro. He did some things in Japan with Kenny Omega. And I don't think he was more famous. He was just still Jericho. And I mean this in like the most respectful of ways. Chris Jericho has reached a plateau in superstardom. I don't think Chris Jericho can ever be more famous. Like you have superstars and then you have Chris Jericho. He's just another level. So I think to me, like he could return to WWE at any point in time and he's still that guy. He could go continue in AEW. He's still that guy. He could go to Japan. He's still that guy. So doesn't matter where. I don't think he left WWE and got more famous. I just think like there's just Jericho fame.
All right.
So I don't think that one is one there. So I think I did this in a podcast way, but the most glaring example of what you're really looking for is a guy, someone who left WWE, transcended, became more famous, and there's only one I can think of.
Who is it?
Moxley.
Oh.
I think Moxley's the only one to me. He is more famous as Moxley than he ever was as Dean Ambrose. And that's WWE's fault. WWE actually held him back. He had all the he had all the talents, all the skills to do it. WWE just didn't know how to fucking use Dean Ambrose. They never understood. They tried to make him comical. They tried to make him crazy. They didn't ever just let him be the Moxley character. That's what he needed to be. And that would have worked in WWE at the time, but they didn't understand what they had, and they failed to capitalize on it. And then he left and he went to AEW, and in maybe the biggest glaring example of somebody who showed up and just he transcended it's the pinnacle. AEW is the pinnacle of his career to this point.
All right.
That's why I say, like, of all the people who could jump ship back, I don't think he could come back to WWE and be that guy in WWE.
True.
I think he is the epitome of like AEW wrestling. Him and Bryan Danielson, they belong there. And so I think, I'd make the argument that Moxley is the only guy that in just my wrestling database that truly transcended his fame from WWE. The other one was Cody Rhodes, but I think I explained my way around that.
Yeah. There's a rumor that WWE tried to contact AEW superstars and persuade them to jump companies while still under contract. Do you believe that tampering is a big deal in pro wrestling?
What is tampering? I know there's legal ramifications to this, but it's pro wrestling. Like, it seems like this is like shit that's tailor made for pro wrestling. Two companies fighting each other. It's all publicity. Tampering fucking rules are so stupid. It's this is literally what contracts are made to stop. If you're under contract, you can't go work for the other guy. So True. I don't get it. And so, like, what is tampering? Is it tampering if Triple H calls a guy and just reaches out and says, "Hey, if you can get out of your contract, we're interested"? Is that tampering? Or do you have to like literally say, "Hey, you need to figure out how to we can work this out and figure out how to get you out of your contract"? Does it have to be malicious? What about buyouts?
Does it matter if the wrestler comes to Triple H or if Triple H goes to the wrestler? Is that
tampering if he just entertains? Let's say Keith Lee picks up the phone and calls Triple H and says, "I made a mistake, bro. I want to come back. I want to come back." Is that tampering that he takes that call? I get how it works in pro sports. I don't get how it works in wrestling. What about like contract buyouts? What if Triple H, let's just say, they'll use Adam Cole. I don't think Adam Cole was the person involved in this, but let's use Adam Cole. Triple H calls Adam Cole. He says, "I really want you back. You'd be a main guy here. What's your interest level?" "Yeah, well, I'm interested." He goes, "All right, cool. I'm going to call Tony Khan and see if I can buy you out of your contract." Like, is that tampering? Where's the line where it becomes tampering?
I don't know, honestly.
Does he have to call Tony Khan first and go, how much would it, I guess that's the proper means. Like, how much would it cost to buy Adam Cole? But then how do you know if Adam Cole's even interested in that? It seems like a waste of time. And
it's like asking a girl to marry her before you've ever even talked to her.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, kind of. The other problem, I saw people jump all over this. There's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be hell to pay for W. Fuck that, man. This is happening on both sides.
How can you prove it, though?
But this is also happening. Well, because apparently this person went to Tony Khan with, like, I don't know, text messages or something.
What a bitch.
I agree. But, like, this is happening on both sides. Don't get it twisted. This is there's no way Cesaro was not talking to Tony Khan before he was out of contract. Keith Lee and these guys. These guys were all, they knew that there was a place to go. And if it's not happening exactly from Tony Khan, it's happening from other wrestlers. It's happening right now. AJ Styles, I guess the Young Bucks hinted at, like, we need a partner. And AJ Styles was like, well, you should come to WWE.
Yeah, friends talk.
I'm not going there. You should come here. Yeah, friends talk. The problem is, this isn't the NBA. This isn't the NFL. They have those tampering rules because the fact is that those companies, like those teams, are competing directly against each other under an umbrella organization. The reality is, other than dumb people like me who were screaming AEW versus WWE, they're not really competing. They're on two different channels. Yeah. They come on two different nights of the week. Yep. Other than like keeping talent exclusive from each other, they're not competing. Tampering is a problem in pro sports because they play games against each other. And there's competitive advantage. Wrestling is it's like a beauty pageant. It's a popularity contest. It's athletic actors. They either want to be a part of the company or they don't. And usually when a wrestler is willing to be tampered with, you don't want that guy in your company anyway.
True.
You should cut ties with any wrestler who is willing to listen to the other side and sabotage, unless they're like one of the top 5 guys. The first time, you guys come get me, the first time that AEW and WWE make a transactional trade, they trade one wrestler for another wrestler. They begin doing business in this manner. Then come talk to me about tampering. Because then we officially have the beginnings of something where tampering would matter. Until then, they're not competition. There's more important parts to this rumor that we need to be talking about than the tampering. That question leads me to bigger things to talk about. 2 things. A, Triple H is a fucking hawk. He's out here trying to fucking poach wrestlers from other companies. And if it means he's like, obviously, if he's trying to poach this one person and they ran to Con Man and told him, there's 5 others that he tried to poach that are trying to figure out how the fuck do I get out of this contract?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, this isn't a one-off thing. The one guy who snitched is not the only guy who got. The other thing we need to talk about is, who the fuck is this? Who the fuck was the snitch? Who was Triple H, A, willing to fucking go and tamper? Who did he think was that important? And B, who was willing to go snitch that he tampered? And so I've heard rumors that it was like Tony Storm.
Okay.
I guess I could see it. Okay. Keith Lee.
No.
He seems like I don't think he would run and tell.
I don't think it's him. Also, remember, he wasn't on that, like, homage to, what's his name? John Cena.
What does that matter?
So he didn't, I don't know, maybe there's something there.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. Keith Lee was a Triple H guy. Triple H was a big Keith Lee guy. They liked each other. Triple H saw a lot in him. I don't think it's Rusev. I don't think Miro. I feel like he's expressed some unhappiness, but I don't think he would then run to Tony Khan. He doesn't feel like that guy. Andrade doesn't feel like it, because I thought Andrade, because I feel like Andrade, if there was anybody, he got married to Charlotte. If there was anybody like itching and going,
but I don't see him either being a little bitch and being like, look what he did.
Exactly. I don't see him running and going, hey, Tony, this is happening. Unless he's trying to sway Charlotte to go the other way.
Who do you think the snitch is?
Swerve Strickland.
Ooh. I
think that when Hit Row came back, I think Triple H tried to get Swerve back.
Oh, I do too.
I think he reached out and said, hey, we got the band back together. Can you get out of your contract and come back? Like, this could be a big deal. I'm about to push them. I'm about to rocket these guys to the moon, and we want you back. And I think that, they kind of took a shot at Swerve in their promo.
Yeah.
I think that when he bitched out and snitched, I think that it was kind of like, oh, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too. That literally is the person who jumped in my mind.
This guy, not only, like, he could have just turned down the offer, but he runs to Daddy Khan to tell him, like, hey, Daddy, Triple H is, he's digging around. He's trying to recruit us.
Yeah.
I think fucking Triple H then was like, oh, no, yeah, y'all go cut a promo on this guy.
Fuck
this guy, yeah. The bigger issue here, the bigger issue that we're going to have to be talking about the next couple weeks is that Triple H is on a fucking warpath. If this is happening, this means it's war. It's not as civil as it kind of seemed. And as Tony Khan tried to make it, oh, my guys are under contract, we're secure. It means that Triple H isn't done acquiring talent. Like, he has other people he's looking at, whether it's The Fiend. He'll get into these bidding wars over Johnny Gargano and these guys, and he'll fucking poach talent from AEW if he has to.
All right. So it appears that Drew Gulak is and has been allowed to Twitch and stream again after he tweeted, yes, I'm streaming on Twitch again. Thank you, Papa H. Also, my cousin is here with me still, and he insisted, please come ask him questions.
Bad tweet. Okay. Tweet didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I get what he's saying.
Okay.
Finish the question.
Oh. With Up, Up, Down, Down returning, are you excited for WWE stars to return to the Twitch platform?
I never understood why they left. I didn't understand Vince's reasoning.
I mean, I don't either.
I get Vince McMahon's a control freak. I do understand that. And I understand the fear of people finding a better way to make money, maybe, or realizing that there's money to be made. I understand all that, and I understand WWE not wanting those guys to go break kayfabe. Don't go be someone you're not on the stream, right? Because you got guys like Undertaker who spent their whole career staying in character. Don't go get on your stream, and if you're a bad guy, all of a sudden you're a good guy. It's weird. I get some of that, but I also understand that like wrestling has a lot of blurred lines these days. So keeping guys off Twitch doesn't make sense. Leagues like the FCF, the football league that we watched, the fan control football league, they've made a living using Twitch as a platform to reach like target audiences. And it's definitely an audience that the WWE isn't reaching. They tout all of their social media, Twitter, Instagram, but they don't have a big Twitch presence right now.
Yeah. And are those aging platforms?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I honestly believe that they definitely have demographics.
Like, I don't even use Instagram.
Exactly. I mean, so Twitch is definitely the younger platform, which it seems like WWE wants to hit that audience. I think if WWE was smart, honestly, they would start their own Twitch channel. They may have one, but they would utilize their own Twitch channel and create a channel with shows that were geared towards like game, like have them play the way Xavier Woods has it figured out.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Just do what he's doing on a bigger scale. Fucking just put Xavier Woods in charge of it.
He play Uno and love it.
No, I agree. I really agree.
Come out with WWE Uno cards in.
Fucking write Xavier Woods a fat check and just go, hey, man, you're in charge of this. This is what you do. Because I think he could blow it up. I also think that WWE is missing out on an opportunity. I think football is going to be doing this. NFL is going to be doing this. WWE should have... People are doing this already. They're live watching WWE events.
Yeah.
If you want to raise the viewership of a show like Main Event, a show that's not getting a ton of love, allow people to live comment with video feed that show on Twitch.
Yeah.
Have that show run on Twitch where you can live feed it. You can use that footage, those matches. There's so much exposure from that. People like us would get on and do live commentary. Just have a show with no commentary where people get to talk over it and show. Twitch is an underutilized thing for WWE, for a company that prides itself. I mean, who were the big players on Twitch for WWE? It was like AJ Styles, Adam Cole, who's gone, Miro. A lot of these people, I think, left because of this. I think WWE underestimated also the amount of money that some of these people were making, extra income.
Yeah.
And that scares WWE. But you can't be afraid of income that's not like, that's not
outside
yours.
Outside of you. You can't control that.
And these people are supposedly independent contractors.
Yeah.
Like that's what they qualify them. So why can't they? They're not competing in the wrestling world. But like Paige was a big one, you said, right? Mm-hmm. And Xavier Woods, we know up, down, down. I don't know why they don't just completely invest into him and let him run that thing. I've been playing with the idea. I talked to you about this of starting a Twitch channel for this, like the wrestling stuff. I don't want to do this show. I don't want to do this show live. I like this show the way it is. This show's comfortable. This show's not going to change. But I think it would be fun to like go play some wrestling video games, to have a wrestling and not a network as some people have tried to start, but to do a channel that was just fun video gaming, like us playing games, playing WWE 2K22, playing some of the old 64 games, playing Jackbox games that were wrestling
Everybody
themed.
Could see my amazing video game skills.
Exactly, right? Everybody could see. We play Fortnite with the John Cena skin, and it's not to become big Twitch streamers, but more. I'm struggling with starting a fucking community.
Yeah.
I struggle with this aspect of podcasting, and we're kind of done with the show now. I'm going to talk about us a little bit. I struggle with this aspect because we tried Facebook, and to me, it always feels like I'm pandering, and I don't want it. Like, I want the people who listen to the show to feel like friends. Like we have discussions. I don't want to go in there.
I felt like we had to repost the same stuff we already had on TikTok. So then our TikTok people who we brought over to Facebook, we were kind of just echo chambering the same thing, and it didn't feel organic.
Every fucking book you read, every video you watch, that's what it says. Cut your content up. Put it in your community group. Shove it down their fucking throat. I don't want to do that. Yeah. And I also don't want to do the thing where it's like, come up with a clever question to ask. I don't want to do that either. Like, I'd like a place where we could get to know people who listen to the show. And sometimes I think Twitch is that. but not through our content, just through hanging out. Like, hey guys, I know you listened to this week's episode. We're going to be on Twitch this Friday playing WWE 2K22. You could come in and hang out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't expect to get numbers of like, the expectation for that wouldn't be to have like 1,000 viewers at a time. It would be for the core people who listen to the show to have a place to access direct conversation back with us. Like I keep getting asked, where's the Discord? When are you going to make a Discord? I don't fucking understand Discord. I don't know. Like, it feels a lot like Facebook. I think our Facebook got hijacked.
I'm the one who's going to be doing the Discord.
I know that.
I am like Discord challenged.
I know that. I mean, I have to, because these days I spend a lot of time prepping for this show. I'm trying to take it serious. And so I don't have the time to do the social media. So it does get thrown to you. And it's like, here's a new platform that's like a chat system with channels and things like that. Mm-hmm. And you've got to convince people to come sign up. And I think our audience skews older. And then I think you need like a
special code to get in.
Yeah.
You know, and
you have to be invited in.
This might date me a little bit because I don't know how to use Discord, but you know, it is what it is.
I agree. But we're told like that's what you have to do if you want to grow.
Yeah.
It's confusing. Like, I feel like
so
Twitch.
Is this asking our audience?
It is. Like, it is asking for like
you guys.
What is like, where is the platform? I want to build a community. Mm-hmm. It's the thing you do. Like, you build a podcast and then you need a place for the people who are loyal to the show to congregate. And I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But it can't be difficult. And it can't be pandering.
You need an app and then you got to do this.
Yeah,
you
it can't be pandering. Like there's Patreon, but I don't want money for this.
We don't
I'm
want
not asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a place that everybody can congregate and talk for a little bit. Facebook was cool, but I think we got hijacked by some other podcast. They post on our Facebook every day, and I don't know how to ban them. Oh. So they're just overly promoting, and I think they ran everybody off.
Yeah.
We did the work to try and build. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll take suggestions. You can post this clip on fucking TikTok too as well. Where should we build a community? How should we build a community? Does anybody want to fucking be in charge of the community right now? Like you can 100%. This is the opportunity to jump on our train and be community manager for CWC, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm so lost. This has been another episode of the CWC Wrestling Podcast. Make sure to tune in every week on either YouTube or Spotify. And please leave us a comment on this episode. It helps us get into the algorithm. The YouTube is fucking growing. The YouTube is doing amazing. The TikTok, I don't put a lot of stock in TikTok. TikTok numbers just go up if you make content. So I'm not... Like, we're growing extremely fast. I think I would venture to say we are the fastest growing wrestling channel on TikTok. I don't think that that's an overstatement to make, but we also pump out a ton of content for two people doing this. Uh-huh. We're able to be in people's faces all the time. So I don't let that jade me into believing that makes us a big deal. But the YouTube, those exciting metrics, when we look at the YouTube and the podcast numbers, those are growing alarmingly fast.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. That's exciting because that's real data that like we can use.
For me, it's so awesome to see like some of our fans who have been there like since like day one. You know, I
don't like even fucking fans, listeners. They're listeners. They're people who listen to the stupid shit we say.
Because honestly, like I end up liking their content and then like I follow them and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that's so and so, or this is so and so. So
yeah.
One big family.
Tangents. We're on tangents here.
Okay.
As always, I am Notorious Nerdy D. You are Level Up Lauren, and we didn't have you last week to do this, but this week, ring the bell.
WWE, keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Don't show that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit him with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline. We bringing that heat like for show, but you should already know the casual wrestling community show. Let's go. Yeah, Notorious Nerdy D. Woo!